Coming up on Network Africa, Uganda self-proclaimed healer in police custody found in possession of 24 human skulls. Four Nigerians sentenced to prison in the UK after being found guilty of conspiracy to facilitate illegal entry into the country. Plus, Haiti and Kenya police launched joint operations to regain control in Port-au-Prince. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin with a rather gruesome story from Uganda. Police say a man allegedly found with 24 human skulls may have been using them for human sacrifice and could face life in prison. Spokesperson Patrick Oyango said the suspect, Godfrey Damulira, who is a self-proclaimed healer, would be charged under the Prevention and Prohibition of Human Sacrifice Act. Authorities continue searching Mr. Godfrey's shrine in the hopes of recovering more human remains. Animal remains and skins were also found in his shrine in the suburbs of the capital, Kampala. Mr. Godfrey claims to be a traditional healer and herbalist. However, the country's Traditional Healers Association has distanced itself from him. This is not the first time such a shocking discovery has been made in Uganda. Over to Liberia, the former Justice Minister and Chief Justice, Gloria Maya Musu-Scott, has been cleared of charges for the murder of her niece by the country's Supreme Court. The 70-year-old woman and three female relatives were found guilty by a lower court back in December of stabbing her niece and also for conspiracy and making a false report to the police. This led to them being sentenced to life in prison for the brutal killing of 29-year-old Charlotte Musu in February 2023. This is a case that gripped the nation, as Ms. Musu-Scott had been one of Liberia's most famous judges and politicians, a champion of women's rights, and at the time of her conviction, she had just won a significant case against the Electoral Commission as part of the then opposition party's legal team. However, the four women have now been freed and after serving more than 8 months in prison. The Woolwich Crown Court in the United Kingdom has sentenced 4 Nigerians to prison after they were found guilty of conspiracy to facilitate illegal entry into the country. Our London correspondent Juliana Olayinka gives us more details in this report.
Well, this is a pretty serious incident, and there are no surprises that it has garnered plenty of column inches in the UK because it is centred around a critical talking point in this country at the moment, which is immigration. The latest that we have heard on this is that yesterday at Woolwich Crown Court, 4 Nigerian nationals that have been described as a gang by the Metropolitan Police were sentenced to prison. They have been found guilty of conspiracy to facilitate illegal entry into the UK and conspiracy to provide articles for the use in fraud. Primarily, they've been charged with producing these fake marriage certificates to help individuals remain in the UK illegally under the EU settlement scheme. These individuals who have been convicted have been named officially as Abraham Onifade, aged 41, Abayomi Shodikbo, aged 38, Nosimot Gbadamosi, aged 31, and Adekunle Kabir, aged 54. This case covers a slew of issues that Sir Keir Starmer will have to address when Parliament is recalled from its summer break next week. And this is about security concerns. It's about human exploitation. It's about legal and political ramifications, and most importantly, immigration control. We know that the then Home Secretary, James Cleverly, introduced new immigration controls in December that were implemented in April, basically controlling and trying to reduce the number of foreign nationals coming into this country to work. And it has been made even more difficult. It is increasingly difficult to come into the UK legitimately now because of these tighter controls. But then when you have headlines such as this, particularly Nigerian nationals exploiting and abusing the immigration system, it does remain a cause for concern. But what we do know now is that these 4 individuals, like I said, who have been described as a gang, have been convicted at Woolwich Crown Court, and the sentencing will be declared at a later date. Juliana Olayinka reporting for Channels TV News in London.
Well, joining us now is immigration lawyer Dayo Fadina to discuss more on this. Hello, Mr. Fadina. Thank you so much for your time on Network Africa. This is a story that does not put Nigeria, in a good light, but the law is the law. How do you feel about this situation?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. The situation at this point is quite dire, really. This is not a particular case that I would really love to actually be talking about, because it concerns Nigerians who have actually more or less disgraced their person, their character in the UK. It's sad that this has happened. The rules and the immigration rules and regulations and the criminal aspect of what truly happened is nothing to write home about at all. It's not a good thing at all. The rules are very, very clear. These people actually committed a crime. These 4 Nigerians. And indeed, they were prosecuted and convicted, and rightly so. It's not something that should be happening at all. In view of what we know of how sensitive immigration issues are in the UK, and how people actually view immigrants, particularly illegal immigrants, and for people to be falling for this kind of, in fact, I won't even say they are falling. There were people who got involved with these criminals, whereby they were obtaining marriage certificates to be able to actually stay in the UK under the EU settlement scheme. These people were equally liable, and even with criminal intent. They should not have actually been doing this. No matter how vulnerable you are in the UK, to do with your status and to do with your right to be able to at least remain in the UK. I don't believe any human being, or anybody for that matter, not the top list of Nigerians, should be involved in this kind of situation at all.
Well, Mr. Fadina, the schemes that some of these scammers put online are quite convincing. Do you think that there are many in the UK who have benefited, not just from the position of the scammers now, but they're victims?
Well, yes. This situation to do with illegal immigration, to do with scammers, to do with people actually deceiving, and dissembling, so many people in the UK. This situation has been going on for so many years. It's a question of how would the Home Office, the Immigration Service, be able to monitor all these, criminals who are around, taking advantage of vulnerable people, at least to be able to at least obtain their papers in the UK. There have been so many people who have benefited from this, and I want to believe that there will be so many other scammers around doing this. But the law is the law. You need to at least respect the rule of law, and the moment you are caught in this kind of situation, you'll be penalized for it. And again, I also believe that there will be very many, even the victims. There are so many people who have benefited from this scam, this improper way of doing things. Unfortunately, if they are caught out, they would lose most of what they have to do with whatever has been granted to them. And it would just be sad and unfortunate that would happen to so many people who have been granted leave to remain, but they should never have actually got involved with this type of scammers at all. Whether what they were actually portraying online was very convincing, the fact still remains that the marriage certificates gathered, 2,000 of them I read about, that they found on these criminals. People would know for sure that these things are not the right documents; they're not legal, so they should not have got involved with obtaining those documents to be able to at least obtain leave to enter or to obtain leave to remain in the UK.
Just finally, as an immigration lawyer, how would you advise anyone now who is about to sign up for these fake marriage certificates, seeing it as the surest route to immigration to the UK?
In just a few words, my warning would be this: don't do it. Do not really get involved with this kind of people at all, because at the end of the day, even if you're having problems, with trying to renew your papers or to remain in the UK, the fact remains that the moment you're going to get involved with this kind of people, you are more or less getting yourself into trouble, because in this day and age of digital technology, digital information, there is always a way of finding these things out. All they just have to do is to actually cross-check with what's going on in Nigeria or any African country for that matter. The Home Office, they have an agency out there in many countries that could actually check on whether these documents are genuine or not. So do not get involved with them at all. And one other thing is this: he who actually comes to equity in law should come to equity with clean hands. The moment you actually get your hands tainted and soiled with this kind of situation whereby you are now obtaining fake fraudulent documents to be able to remain in the UK, your name and your person, your character will be soiled forever. So my good advice to so many people who are thinking of doing this is that they should just stay away and not get involved at all.
All right, then. Thank you so much, immigration lawyer Dayo Fadina. Thank you so much for your thoughts on Network Africa.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. A pleasure. Thank you.
Well, here in Nigeria, the Lagos state government has announced the commencement of Onjeiko Food Discount Market Phase 2. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Systems, Abisola Olusoya, made this known during a press conference and says the initiative will kick off on Sunday, September the 1st, across all local government areas and local council development areas of the state. Welcome back to the program. Let's give you more details on the Lagos state government's announcement of the commencement of Onjeiko Food Discount Market Phase 2. The Commissioner for Agric and Food Systems says the food discount market will help reduce food expenses on the people.
5 months ago, the Lagos state government opened the Onjeiko Food Discount Market Phase 1 across the 57 local government areas and local council development areas of the state, operating only on Sundays to sell select food items at 25% discount. With food inflation, which is now at about 39%, placing the price of staple food items beyond the reach of some householders, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has approved the implementation of the Onjeiko Food Discount Market Phase 2, an initiative supervised by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems.
This will commence from the 1st of September 2024 and will run for 8 weeks across 64 locations, meaning the 57 local governments and LCDAs, the Alausa Secretariats, the additional location at Lekki Phase 1, the University of Lagos, the Lagos State University LASU, Lagos State University of Science and Technology LASUS Tech, Lagos State University of Education LASUED, and the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital LASUS. The market will operate from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sundays, and the ones at the institutions, including the Alausa Secretariat, will take place on Fridays. The location, Mushin Fresh Food Hub, will operate on Wednesdays and on Sundays. And the food items available at the markets will include a maximum cap purchasable of 5 kilo each for rice, beans and garri, 2 loaves of bread, 1 crate of eggs, 2 kilos of tomatoes, and 1 kilo each for pepper, tatashe, and onions per individual.
To ensure smooth operation of the makeshift market, the state government says only transfer payments will be allowed.
This is an initiative that Lagosians have been hailing, even overseas, that even though Lagos is not an agri food production state, we have done something worthwhile to alleviate the suffering of our people, to make life easier for people.
In the past, we had the issues where people confuse a paint bucket measurement with 5 kilo. I want to make it clear that a paint bucket on average would weigh between 3.8 kilo to about 4.5 kilo, depending on the food item in it. We don't want cash transactions as much as possible, but regardless, even if it occurs at any market location, we will try to accommodate it, but please, as much as possible, we want to discourage cash transactions.
The Onje Food Discount Market Phase 2 will be in operation for 8 weeks, and only food items such as rice, beans, garri, egg, and bread will be available across the designated locations in Lagos metropolis.
Drought-stricken Namibia plans to cull over 700 wild animals, including 83 elephants, and distribute the meat to struggling people to be able to feed themselves. The Environment Ministry says the selective slaughter will take place in parks and communal areas where officials believe animal numbers exceed available grazing land and water supplies. In addition to elephants, animals to be killed include hippos, buffaloes, impalas, and the blue wildebeest and zebras. The ministry says the drought has seen an increase in human-wildlife conflict, and the culling will take place in areas with high levels of friction, particularly with elephants. Southern Africa is currently facing its worst drought in decades, and the United Nations says Namibia last month had exhausted 84% of its food reserves. We're still talking about the drought in Southern Africa. It's one of the worst droughts in living memory, sweeping across the region, leaving close to 70 million people without enough food and water. In Mudzi district in northern Zimbabwe, the community is digging into the river floor, desperately trying to extract the last drops of water from it. Rivers and dams are said to have dried up in other parts of the districts, and as a result, more and more people are descending on the Vombozi riverbed in Kurima village, putting pressure on the water source. The Southern African Development Community, a grouping of countries in the region, has appealed for $5.5 billion in aid to combat the effects of droughts. That was back in May. So far, only a tiny fraction has been received. Okay, Zimbabwean journalist Nigel Tumu joins us now for more on this. Hello, Nigel. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Explain to us, in clear terms, how bad, this drought situation is in Southern Africa and in Zimbabwe, where you are.
With at least a third of the Zimbabwean population facing starvation, the El Nino-induced drought is certainly severe and indeed in sync with what Zambia and Malawi has done, prompts the government to call for a state of emergency. So yes, a lot of work has begun to try and address and alleviate the impacts and effects of this drought. Yet the stark reality is that there is a significant number of the population that is yet to be fully equipped to respond to the effects and impact of this drought, which would essentially mean no food at the table.
Well, this drought was the front burner issue at the SADC summit that just held recently. Well, what is the government, doing to mitigate the effects of this on the people, even as it's waiting for the financial aid of over $5 billion that it's, seeking?
Yes, the food security situation was indeed a topical issue at the just ended SADC summit. I think, yes, the theme around the SADC was about industrialization and all. However, what then dominated the conversation at a regional level was how can the region and the respective states thereof respond to climate change? How can they be new forms and new thinking around climate resilient agriculture or adaptive methods and measures to ensure that in the event of a drought, which, by the way, has also even affected the water levels at the feeder dam across the region, the Zambezi, the Kariba, and so forth within the SADC region. So it is something that they have been working to say beyond just raising funds. Can we begin new forms of doing business, new forms of doing agriculture?
And finally, Nigel, just before I let you go, how are Zimbabweans coping at this time?
Zimbabweans are resilient, if you like, to put it that way. There isn't much panic, as it were, insofar as the food security situation is concerned. Yes, already the government has received donations from the United Nations, from China, being the most recent, the tons of rice that has come through. The United States of America has also chipped in with the new ambassador making a renewed commitment to support. And the impacts, I think, would largely be felt if the food supply does not necessarily meet the demand. But we've been down this road before in 2008. We've been down this road before in the 90s, and there hasn't been a record really of there being any form of pandemonium or chaos emanating from the shortages. So it is something that the government is trying to keep the populace at bay, and indeed continuing to raise funds and to further import to support the local grain.
Right then, thank you so much, Nigel Tumu, there, Zimbabwean journalist. Moving to East Africa, a joint operation is ongoing in Port-au-Prince, that's in Haiti, as Kenyan police and Haitian forces are working together to stop criminal gangs from one of the roughest neighborhoods in Haiti's capital. According to the Haitian police, 3,200 people were killed from January to May this year, and more than 500,000 people homeless in recent years as these gangs fight to control more territory. It's been 2 months since the Kenyan police arrived in Haiti. The multinational security support mission, which Kenya stepped up to lead last year, was deployed to help Haiti tackle the soaring insecurity. It promised a 1,000-member Kenyan contingent, and it's made up of officers from several elite units, of which at least 400 have already been deployed. And for those who have been deployed to Haiti, local media in Kenya is reporting that they are yet to receive their deployment allowances. The Nation, a leading Kenyan newspaper, reported that families of the officers were unable to take their children to school due to lack of pay by the United Nations, which approved the deployment to Haiti. About 400 Kenyan officers landed in the Caribbean nation for the mission. The UN supports the mission, but does not manage the missions. But does not manage the MMS mission, I beg your pardon, but it established a trust fund which is facilitated voluntarily by donor countries like Canada, France, and the United States. And finally, on the program, robot waiters are turning heads at a new restaurant in the suburb of Nairobi. It is a new culinary experiment, an experience that is attracting crowds. The Robot Cafe, the first of its kind in East Africa, where the robots are assisting the staff. They've become a local sensation as they smoothly glide between the tables to deliver orders in the 2-month-old establishment. Customers access the menu by scanning a QR code at the table and place their order online. And once the food is ready, a bell rings to alert a human waiter who places it on a robot's tray. Then the robots deliver the food to the table. That's an interesting.
At times it gets really busy, most on weekends. So when the house is packed, we have 10 waiters on the floor and 3 robots. So these robots are our colleagues. They have names. They help us with the service, and their service is perfect.
I can see it's something unique because here in our country, Kenya, I've never seen another restaurant like this one. So I think for me, it's a good idea to go one of these restaurants.
At no point the robot can be able to fully function all the service and everything that is supposed to be undergoing in the restaurant without the human touch. But we believe that the customers deserve to have the technology that is also available in developed countries, so that they also experience a few things that are not available in the country. So we incorporated the robots for basically for entertainment, because that is what the our targeted customers want.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.